Well, when you go to an attorney, you're explaining your situation, and I believe you should tell the attorney everything. Tell the attorney everything. Why? Because the attorney can't guess. There's no way for them to know what's really going on for you. And you don't have to impress your attorney. Please remember that the attorney works for you. You're the one writing the check. If you write the paycheck, you're the boss.
Did you plan for this, or did you miss when life demands answers you can't dismiss? Will you be ready when the trumpet blows? Do you have the blueprint for life's unknowns?
So Ron, this case study is really interesting to me because it leaves me wondering, whose money is it? Who's in charge here? And I think for a lot of families, there's a lot of presumptions about who's in charge. But I think we're going to have some great questions after this one.
This one hits close to home.
Okay.
Because I've experienced it in my work over the years.
Okay. Well, I think we'll have a lot to talk about. Spending our future. Roland, 80, has made a difficult decision. His longtime plan was to die in his home, leaving his son, Drew, to sell it after Roland's death. Roland has spent the last 5 years alone, largely ignored by his family, since the passing of his wife, Susanna, and after a close call on a staircase, he updated his estate plan and set in motion his new plan to move into assisted living by the end of the month. In order to see these plans through, Roland told Drew it had been decided. He said, "I put the house on the market." Roland's daughter-in-law, Janelle, reacted badly to the sudden change in Roland's plan. She has pressured her husband, Drew, Roland's son, into contesting the sale. She believes the house should be theirs and that selling it would be a mistake. Roland and Susanna purchased the home in the early 80s. The mortgage is paid off, and although it has since increased in value, earnings from the sale might be reduced by capital gains tax. What remained would then be gradually siphoned away to ensure Roland's care continued. Drew wants what's best for his family, but fears potentially alienating his dad by following Janelle's lead. He's worried her heart may be in the wrong place because, in her own words, she seems to truly believe he's, quote, spending our future on himself.
So that is jammed packed with reality for, unfortunately, too many people. So where would you take it from a safety standpoint for Roland?
Well, let's presume for the moment that Roland and Drew have had more conversation about this. Drew may not be able to stand up to his wife and say it's dad's money, but maybe together Roland and Drew can explain to Janelle that it's Roland's money. It's Roland's life we're talking about now, not Janelle's, not Drew's. And that's a tender, tough conversation to have. Maybe Roland would choose to speak to his estate planning attorney about the response his family has had to his plan. Because we're still talking about Roland. This is his. And maybe his friends have moved to that assisted living residence. And maybe he gets to have some social life. And he's been isolated for a few years. What about him? What about Roland's needs?
I hear that, but what I see in reality, as you know, guilt can be a powerful trigger point, and Roland's son's Drew is sleeping with Janelle.
Yeah.
So that's a powerful motivating factor. So Janelle, I feel, is going to pressure Drew into saying, you know what, we'll go and be the caretaker for your dad.
Well, again, because Roland has an estate plan and he has an estate planning attorney, he did select Drew to be his successor trustee, but look at that big, fat conflict of interest. So Roland's needs have to come first in terms of Roland's estate plan. That's how it's supposed to go. And when you select someone to be your fiduciary, that's the commitment they're making. They're going to put your needs before their own. Well, Drew is in quite a spot, isn't he? He wants to be happy. He wants to continue making his wife happy if possible. But what about his dad? In this case, I don't think Drew is the right choice to be trustee. I think it should be a neutral third party who's not a beneficiary, who doesn't have feelings and doesn't have emotions involved in this. Because who else is going to put Roland's needs first? And you can imagine the uproar that's going to happen once Drew's power is taken from him. But are these people really showing their true colors? Does Roland know something now that he didn't know before? And who does Roland tell?
So, well, if Roland goes to the attorney, his comments to the attorney proactively should be, here's my concern. Will the attorney ask that question, or he has to be proactive? When you're planning for this, you have to go in with that attorney and lay all your cards on the table. The transparency has to be full and utmost transparent to the attorney.
Yes, I think you have to think of your life as yours. It's your gift. It's your miracle. It's your everyday. And when you hire an attorney, you do want to receive guidance and advice, just like when you go to a doctor. You know, the doctor can advise you about a procedure, but you're still the decision maker. You're still the one who gets to choose whether or not you're going to do that procedure. Well, when you go to an attorney, you're explaining your situation, and I believe you should tell the attorney everything. Tell the attorney everything. Why? Because the attorney can't guess. There's no way for them to know what's really going on for you. And you don't have to impress your attorney. Please remember that the attorney works for you. You're the one writing the check. If you write the paycheck, you're the boss.
I guess don't say, oh, your children always all get along. Not true.
Well, we really want our children to be happy, and for anyone who has children, that's our deepest desire, right? We want our children to be better off than we were. We want our kids to be happy with us. We want to keep that relationship. We want them to visit. We want them to call. But I strongly caution against holding your trust up like a bait or, some kind of treat, right? That, well, if you call me every Sunday, then you get to inherit. It's not really recommended for good, happy, functional families. And you might need a mediator. You might need a professional involved in the conversation. I've had a situation where the client had something similar happen, where she was so disappointed and hurt that it felt like her family was waiting for her to die. That's how she said it. And so I suggested that she have a talk with her estate planning attorney, and her attorney suggested that she visit and have her family visit in his conference room. And that way he was able to explain how this is going to go, and that he was able to emphasize that it's her money, not the kids' money. They didn't like it. They walked out on her. Mm-hmm. And that's really, really hard. But after a year or two, she decided to move to assisted living. She ended up with a whole bunch of friends. She was going to the casino. She was going to her doctor's appointments. She had her transportation. There were parties every month at this beautiful place that she lived. And it was very hard for her, and I suggested that she might want to work with a therapist or someone to work through the feelings of that abandonment. But isn't that interesting to learn that and know that, and then live your life? Live your life.
Well, it's your money. You've earned it. It's not your daughter-in-law's money.
And there are wonderful daughters-in-law.
Yeah,
there are wonderful people who look after their elders. There are wonderful people who go out of their way. I acknowledge you. I see you. I'm so grateful for you. But unfortunately, that's not true of every family. And not having the conversation or just avoiding it and just having the document still means you're not getting your needs met. And that's part of my concern. So how does Roland get his needs met? First, he has to know what those needs are. And it's his house, it's his money, and he gets to decide what he's going to do with it. And Janelle's going to have to make some other plans. Maybe she needs to plan for this.
Like you said, if start from the ground up, Janelle, what is your plan?
Right. And if you were planning on waiting for someone to pass, or you were hoping to move into that house, it's not yours. And you really need to have your own plan with your own stuff.
Again, if something in this storyline resonates with you, please go to planforthis.com. There's a place for you to submit yours very specific storyline, and we would love to entertain that to be read on air at a future podcast.
Yeah, we thank you. We thank you for participating in the community. And there's so much other information available on planforthis.com. If you're nervous about hiring an attorney, we have a toolkit. But sign up and be part of our community. Thanks. Independent Trustee Alliance is a proud nonprofit sponsor of Plan for This. If you are considering serving as a trustee, please visit trusteealliance.com to learn more about this complex and sometimes overwhelming job. trusteealliance.com. Plan for This thanks the Estate Sale Warehouse for all their amazing service and support. Entire home cleanouts, inventory, appraisal, auctions, sale of fine art and classic cars. Learn more at estatesalewarehouse.com.
Complicated questions often require complicated answers. How would you plan for this? Let us know what you think at planforthis.com. We're going to go ahead and read a submitted question. So let me get that going. Hi, Marguerite and Ron. My siblings and I need some help. Our mother recently passed and left everything to the three of us. But the wording in the will specifically says, my children must split everything evenly. And my older sister took that literally. She's been divvying up everything up herself, even splitting up sets of silverware and drink coasters. It's getting out of hand. Is there a better way?
Ooh, I can only imagine what Thanksgiving's like at that household. Well, I understand the sister who's serving. Let's call her Mary. Mary is doing her best based on how she reads this. But if she's the one who's responsible and is serving as the trustee or executor, I'm really hoping that she's represented by counsel. She really needs an attorney. And here's the thing. There's language in the trust, and we all do our best to interpret it. Some language is pretty common. Some, this is a little bit unusual. What's the intention behind this? Really, you're going to separate up the silverware? This one gets 2 forks, this one gets 2 forks, this one gets 2 forks. Is that really the practical way? One of the ways I would suggest considering the personal property is actually to get a dollar value from everything that you didn't devise, meaning you need a neutral third party who knows what they're looking at. Maybe they use garage sale values. So everything has a value. The used broom in the closet, we'll put $1 on that. Maybe we're going to do $2 for the pair of shoes under the bed, but you get the idea.
Right.
Now that we have a dollar value for everything, now you could allow your siblings in. And by the way, again, you're a fiduciary. You're of service to other people. It's not you first. It's your family first, right? So they would get a chance to select some things. The person who selected the shoes, that's worth $2. The one who took the broom, that's $1. And each one has a column. So now they've gone through the house and they've selected those items and you add it up. This one took $500 worth of stuff. This one took $200 worth of stuff. This one has only $100. Well, it's up to you to equalize from there. Maybe you provide cash now to each of the beneficiaries. So that's evenly too. So it's just an idea and you should talk to your attorney.
But personal property is really where we see so many things go south on estate distribution.
Oh, yeah. In some cases, wow, the race is on, right? People want to race to be first at the house. I've had beneficiaries who've broken into the house, so they get there first and get in to get stuff. Some people are aware that mom or dad had some valuable items, weapons, gold, other things. Some things are very well hidden. And most families, I'm very hopeful that they wouldn't fight about these things. I think a lot of people would say, oh, I don't want my mom's old stuff. But as we've learned from our sponsor, Todd from Estate Sale Warehouse, who does estates and goes into the house and deals with this personal property, there are things that might have a surprising amount of value. But unless you have someone who knows what they're looking at, look at it, how would you know? How would you know? So you can't take it personally, but personal property, wow.
So one of the things if mom was still alive, is to have that party before mom passes away and start identifying things early on. So again, plan for this. Nobody lives forever. We have that. Everybody has a dead person in their family. I mean, it is what it is. So I always love to recommend to people, have a Sunday party and invite everybody over and get those little stickies on personal property items and do it well in advance.
Yeah,
practical.
And stickies are not the same as having language in your documents.
I know.
Okay. But do talk with your attorney about how. Like if you have a special collection, if you have certain things that are from your own great-grandmother, right? And you have a lot of kids, well, only one person is going to get that special chair or that special thing, right? So you can try to be fair, but then there's also the issue where there are some kids who travel for a living. They don't want a bunch of stuff. So in the way that I suggested, to equalize might mean that some people get personal property and other people get money. And it's okay. And it's really important that you decide some actual method. The way this is described, my children must split everything evenly, is disastrous.
Well, again, that's just go to the real estate. How are you going to divide? You can't chop up a piece of real estate in 3 ways.
Oh, all 3 are going to live there for the rest of their lives, right? That's another story maybe for another time. But I just want you to think about for a moment, look around your house, notice the things that some kids comment on, or you've gotten to share the history about that thing. Please don't use Post-it notes, but consider that there are a few special things in the house that you're sure you want to make sure goes to the next generation. Maybe it's 6 or 10 things. You can identify what room that thing is in. You can describe it, maybe even sharing a bit of the history of it, and make sure that your attorney is aware of that, and ask your attorney, how do I incorporate that into my estate plan? How do I make it work so that my trustee or whoever's doing this for me doesn't have to work that hard?
Would that be taking a photograph and putting it into the
It's a great idea.
binder?
It's a great idea. Different people do this different ways. And again, depending on the state you're in, the probate code applies. Every state has its own probate code, its own body of law that governs the things we're talking about. And there are lots of great ways to do it. There's some fictional books that really make a big deal about finding the secret, X marks the spot, and that kind of thing. Be careful about the wild goose chase you send your family on, because it could really split them apart forever.
Right.
That race to the house, that argument in the driveway, that's very hard on a family, especially people who are already grieving. So I'd like to strongly suggest that if you care at all about how your personal property gets shared with your family, please plan for this.
Money management and legacy.